Regional Vice President out of Greenville, South Carolina. And quick housekeeping stuff and announcements before I introduce our guest speaker. So the first thing is GTC. If you have not registered for our global training conference, it's in Vegas, May 16th through the 18th. And it is $100 off. I think it's 100. It's the early bird registration through the end of the month. So you make sure you register. You can break it up into 2 payments if you need to, but it's definitely a must to grow this business. It's an awesome opportunity to learn more. Second thing is, there is a training called Areas in Paradise that's put on by our, I don't know, like great grandma, Donna Johnson, and it's in Scottsdale, Arizona. I believe it's the first weekend of April. Is that right, Karen? March
8th and 9th.
March 8th, Arizona. Yeah, you have to be an area manager or above to attend, but it's a great training. It's a leadership training. You need to complete area by February, the end of February, to go. So just have that in the back of your mind. I know a lot of you guys are working towards that, so it's a great goal. Also, still PCs are signing up for free with a 150 order. So take advantage of that. Use Black Friday if you want to have do anything for Black Friday. There's a couple of different offers that Arbonne's going to have. Probably let us know like next Monday, I believe, what those are going to be. So get prepared for that. And then the last thing is the canister sets with the Arbonne logo on it. When you sponsor a new consultant with a $250 sign up, you get those cute little canisters with the Arbonne logo on them. So those are kind of the little announcements, and that's enough I'm going to say about that. But I'm so excited to introduce Caroline Epting to you guys. So I will tell you how I know Caroline, and this will give you a little insight as to how Arbonne works. And it's so cool because I would have never met Caroline were it not for Arbonne. I went to church with a girl named Joanna Trogger, and Joanna we barely knew each other, but she joined my Arbonne team, and she and Caroline have been best friends for quite some time. So I met Caroline through Joanna, and Caroline she's going to share her story with you, but you guys probably all know her because she is probably one of the purest, sweetest hearts in our Arbonne team. I'm not even joking. She just got that special, she just loves everybody and is genuine and sincere. And so I'm just really excited to introduce her. She's an executive district manager, and she's got some exciting stuff to share with you guys. And so Caroline, go ahead and unmute yourself, or you're already unmuted. So I'm unmute myself.
Hey guys, I want to first start off by saying I am scared, but I feel totally unworthy to even be speaking to you guys. I look up to all of y'all, just a bunch of rock stars. So proud of all of y'all, and so proud to be a part of this team. I say that to Heather all the time, that we seriously have the best team ever. Yeah, I appreciate all of y'all. So I don't feel like I have all of the answers or kind of arrived where I'd like to be, but I do feel like I've learned a lot in the year and a half that I've been in this business. And I actually heard this week, a struggle kept silent is a struggle wasted. So it was kind of timely when I heard that. I was like, okay, got to put my big girl panties on and share my story because it's worth sharing. So if I can help a few of you maybe overcome some mental boundaries or struggles in your business, I think it's all worth sharing. So hopefully y'all can relate to some of the stuff that I talk about. I think in Arbonne, we all kind of hit the same roadblocks in our business when we have to come to the end of ourselves and think about others. It kind of all comes up for all of us. So for those of you who don't know me, like Heather said, I'm Caroline Epting. I'm a district manager, and I've lived in Travelers Rest, South Carolina my entire life. Me and my husband, Paul, have been married 10 years. and we have 3 kids. Jacob is 6, Olivia's 4, and Noah just turned 1 year old. We live on a cattle and goat ranch here in Travelers Rest, and as you can imagine, we're very busy. My husband works full-time and then comes home and manages the farm, and that is kind of his passion and his outlet for when he comes home. So he works at North Greenville University, and he is a general contractor there at North Greenville University. But anyways, back to my story. My favorite part of sorry, I didn't even tell you what I used to do before I had my kids. So back up a little bit. Sometimes I feel like mom is my job, but I did used to be a hairstylist and makeup artist. I went to cosmetology school in high school, and I did that for 7 years until I got pregnant with my first son. So that was always my dream, to stay at home with my babies, and thankfully God allowed us to do that. So when Arbonne came into my life, I was busy. My bills were paid. I was staying home with my kids. So I know sometimes that's people's why, for this business. They want to stay home with their kids, or they want, they need more money, or, whatever. But we were comfortable where we were. But when I left my job as a hairstylist and makeup artist, I kind of stopped being fulfilled. I loved helping others. I loved making women feel beautiful, and just having that ability to, help them, brighten their day a little bit. And I would say probably most people that know me pretty well would say that's my gift. I love serving. I love, just encouraging and pouring into especially women. So like I said, I was comfortable. I was not, pursuing anything to fill that void where I wasn't being fulfilled. But after finishing a Bible study, a women's Bible study in May of 2017, I had to look all these dates up, and I might cry because when I looked the dates up, I'm like, holy cow. It literally was like boom, 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 how God laid it out. But I finished a Bible study, and it was on women's discipleship, which is kind of my gift, or, where I love to serve. And so when I left this Bible study, I began being super convicted that I was just being a mom. That's a huge job, don't get me wrong, but I was not living my life full out for him anymore. So I began to get super convicted about that. Didn't really know, like, I'm already busy, God. I don't know how to, fit anything else in. But like I said, I dug through my journals. I'm a big journaler. I dug through my social media posts, and sure enough, the end of that month, my good friend Joanna had just signed up with Arbonne, and she came over to the house, and she brought me some RE9 samples, and she's like, you have to try this. I love this skincare. And mind you that I had a background in cosmetology, so I was kind of snobby with my products. And but I tried the samples just to appease her, and y'all know that I fell in love with the products, because we all do. Noticed a difference in my skin immediately. So when I noticed that Arbonne offered all of the things I was already using, our family was already using, I was interested in makeup and nutrition, it just made sense for me. So me and Heather kind of have this in common. I just jumped in. I didn't talk to Paul. I didn't ask any more questions. Looking back at it, I'm like, I didn't even try the makeup. I just, it just felt right. And it wasn't until, I'd say, maybe a couple weeks to a month, that I realized what had just happened, that God had literally put my purpose in my lap. So that was kind of cool. I wasn't looking for it. It was just kind of like, boom, here it is, Caroline. So tonight, I don't have like a particular topic that I want to train on, but I do just want to go through my journey. And like I said, I haven't arrived. I'm not a national vice president yet, but I would just like to share with y'all where my roadblocks and challenges and the stuff that I've overcome. So I want to first start off with, we all start this journey in different spots, in different parts of our life, having gone through different experiences, different careers, different just experiences. So that kind of molds us and shapes us to who we are. And that in turn, when we come into our business, that's where we're comfortable. And for me, I was comfortable with the sales. If I want to be honest, I was used to recommending products that I love to my clients. That was pretty comfortable for me. I was used to researching something, finding out what was better about it, and then sharing that with my clients. So, you know, that might not be where you're comfortable when you start off in your business or where you're comfortable now. But for me, that's where I started off. And I feel like we all have to grow from that to be the leader that we need to be, you know, or to the title that we need to grow to. So I think that's why some people go faster, some people go slower. And it's all about, you know, the end goal, where you want to get. So some people might not want to get to national vice president, or some people might be okay, you know, walking or crawling instead of sprinting. So that's where I was comfortable, and I stayed in my comfortable place and got to district manager in 3 months, just sharing products that I absolutely loved. But after 3 months, when I promoted, I gave birth to my son. And looking back, I'm like, that was incredible. I was able to build an incredible income in 3 months, stay at home with him, and still reap the benefits that this business offers. So just looking back at that, that was just incredible to see the fruit that in that short amount of time. So, you know, when people say, oh, well, you know, I can't let people get away with I'm pregnant, because I have that, you know, I was, I guess 7 months pregnant when I signed up. So I looked pretty crazy to most people, but, I was able to, you know, build my income to $1,000 in 3 months. Like, what other job can you do that in? Incredible. So I've heard, and y'all have probably heard this, I'm going to quote so many people, but National Vice President Peyton Schneiber, she said, if you can get to district manager, you can go to the top of the company. So if you're not a district manager, that is an incredible goal. It's not a small goal. It's an incredible goal, because it is literally the building block of how you get to the top of this company. You get to district manager, and then you just teach a bunch of other ladies how to do the same thing, or men. So anytime I get down about just being a district manager, I have to remind myself that, because it's an accomplishment. I really think that it is. So applaud yourself if that's where you are. And if you're not, then let that be your goal. So up to this point, I've maintained my district. I've hit my brick every month. Feel called to this business. I do what it takes to get the numbers. But about May of this year, I started to get kind of unhappy, very unhappy with the lack of growth in my business. I wanted to be way further in my business than I was. I guess that was probably when, you know, Noah started sleeping through the night, and I'm like, okay, I can do this, maybe. But anyways, I want to read this quote by Thomas Jefferson. If you want to do something that you have never done, then you must be willing to do something you have never done. And insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So me and Heather have always spoke once a week, verbally on the phone, if not texting multiple times throughout the week. I highly, highly recommend that, because throughout my business, she has always been able to pinpoint where my struggle is and point me in the direction to help me fix, grow, whatever. So in this point in my business, I had not read at all. I've always done a quiet time, but not been reading a book. So that was her first recommendation, that I needed to start reading. She could tell that I just had a bunch of negativity. I just did not like what my business looked like. So I had negative head trash going on, and I needed to start reading. I needed to put good things in order for good things to come out. So if some of y'all might remember, Heather started a group called Heather's Hustlers, and we all would I guess message in this group or whatever when we had read 5 pages of personal growth and did 3 things for our business. So that was really fun. But this is when that started for me. So I started reading 1 to 2 books a month. I went from nothing to, and I had to choose. That's important to point out. Like, you have to choose that you're going to do something different. And for me, it might be something totally different for you, but for the positive mindset that I needed, that shift, I needed to start reading. So I don't know if most of y'all might have always read, but when Heather would talk about these, I was like, oh, that sounds so weird. I don't know. It just sounded weird. It's like, why do I need to read them? I felt like I was good, but I did it. I did it anyways. And sometimes we can't see like really what we need or where the struggle is. But like I said, that's where our mentors come in, and they, Heather always coaches me to be my best. So I'm very thankful for that. So I started learning about the brain. Actually, my first book was, what was it? It was a Joyce Meyer book, but it's On the Mind. So anyways, there's actually research behind the positive effects. When you have, positive input, then you're going to have positive output. If you think negatively about your business, like, no one wants to join my team, I'm not a good leader, they're going to say no anyways, probably things we've all thought, your brain is going to take note and think that it's a bad thing. Like, I need to stay away from that. I don't, that's a bad thing. We don't want to keep going with that bad thing. You're thinking negatively about it. So battlefield of the mind, there you go. So I noticed over time, I was thinking more positively about myself. I think that's probably something that I've always struggled with. Just thinking bad about myself, putting myself down. I probably wouldn't admit that before Arbonne, but now I will, admit that. That's something that I struggled with. So book after book, I noticed I was thinking more positively, and strangely enough, all of a sudden people were starting to pop in my head I had never thought before. It was like, oh, that person acted interested about my post, or that person asked about or commented on my skin. It was just like my brain was working in my favor. And like I said in the beginning, I've always loved to journal. So I also started writing out my I am statements and saying them out loud to myself. So just kind of reiterating the positive things I was saying to myself and putting in my brain. And if I wasn't able to read, I highly recommend the SoundClouds that Arbonne has on their training app. They're normally 10 to 15 minutes, and they're super easy to just put in your earbuds and listen in the car line, or whatever you're going to. because I definitely sometimes don't get to read. But Battlefield of the Mind, Joyce Meyer says, right action follows right thinking. You will not change your behavior until you change your thoughts. So I think after you learn something like that, you then have, if you want to apply it, you have to probably most likely face your fears in order to then apply that. So that's my next point, is fear. So I had to face my fears. We all have to face fears when we're going to put what we learned into practice. This is when I had to make the choice to commit to do whatever it took to reach my goals. So everybody might have different fears. You know, what will people think? Fear of failure, fear of saying the wrong thing. And, you know, something Heather's always said is you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. You know, if they're searching for that, you know, they're just going to be thankful for the opportunity. Kind of like my situation. Joanna did not even present the business to me, and I'm like, sign me up. So, you know, you can't let that dictate, you know, you sharing it with them. So everybody might have different fears that they have to overcome. This is when I read Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. And I want to reiterate, it's so cool to be able to go back in your journals and like read, you know, like how it applied and everything. But anyways, if you haven't read that, that's an awesome, awesome book. She was our keynote speaker at GTC last year. And the 5-second rule is when you're scared to do something, you say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you just do it before your brain even has time to think about it. And she says the moment you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and physically move, or your brain will stop you. Action cures fear. And then that leads me into commitment and consistency. So commitment means doing what you said you do, even when you don't feel like it. And I see all of y'all like nodding. So sometimes we just don't feel like doing what we know we're supposed to do. But success is actually the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out, which means consistency. I wrote down, this is something I've said to myself so many times, don't let the things you can't do keep you from doing the things you can do. So there's a lot of things we can't control. We can't control what people say, or if they say no to a meeting, or if they say no to the presentation, or if they say no to the product. But there are things that we can control. And so we have to focus on those things instead of like wallowing in this hole of pity and just not doing the do. So I wrote, the only way to fail in Arbonne is to quit. And if you haven't heard that once, you'll probably hear it a million times. But it's so true. We are not losing anything if we don't get that sale. But we are losing everything if we quit. So you have to choose to, these are the things we can control. So you can show up to meetings. Okay, you can keep learning. Even if you don't have somebody coming with you, show up to the meetings. I can tell you that every single meeting that I've come to, and if I miss one, I'm texting Heather. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm not at the meeting. I always learn something. It's not just for your guests, guys. So show up to the meetings, get on these calls, read a book, message a friend, listen to a training, drop off those samples, keep doing something. So it's these daily sacrifices that we make that will produce the fruit, produce the sale in due time. But just like anything in life, whether it's fitness or I'm trying to think of discipline with your kids. The consistency is where you see the results. So Ashley Strong, I love to listen to her. She says your level of discipline is driven by how strong your desire is to fulfill your why. Oftentimes, we're just not motivated to work our business. It gets hard, people say no, and people drop off. Motivation is fleeting and it doesn't last, but we must learn to be disciplined with our everyday tasks. So I don't know if that convicts y'all, but it certainly convicted me. And I know I'm kind of running short on time, but this is my last point. Whenever you feel like you're doing all of the right things and still not seeing the results, always reach up to your upline. I know I said that before, but don't just think this just isn't for me. I'm doing what I said they said to do, and I'm not seeing the results, so it's just not for me. That's something I have never chose to believe. I have always reached out to Heather and said, listen, I did what you said. I'm not seeing what you said. If I feel frustrated, I tell her I'm frustrated. If I don't see what I think that I should see, then I, so I was frustrated. This is probably just a month ago, would you say, Heather? I was frustrated and I was not seeing the results. I felt like I was reaching out to everybody that I could. I was making that 100-person list. I was working through it. I was even booking presentations. I was doing presentation after presentation. But I wanted to see the promotion. That's what my goal was the promotion, which I think we all could say. So enjoy the journey and detach from the outcome. What does that even mean? Was what I said to her. Heather said so many times that when she's mentoring us, she feels like she's mentoring herself. And one day I was sitting thinking about this and how I was so glad that she had been through the things that I had been through. Like I'm so glad she didn't get to RVP in 4 months. Anybody else? Because I would have something to relate to. So that's one point. We have to look at it like that we have to go through things that kind of develop us into the leader as well. And what kind of leader will we be if we haven't gone through anything? So when we focus too much on a goal, a number, and kind of attach ourselves to that, which is what I really think that I was doing. I was doing the 1, 2, 3, but I was attaching to what happened at that meeting too much. So when we attach ourselves to that, I feel like that causes us to kind of yo-yo, like emotionally, physically. You get a few no's and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. It's not working. But when we in turn focus on the people, focus back on that why we're even doing it in the first place, I think that we will be motivated, and I was, to do it no matter what. You're going to do it no matter what. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I think not just that, people can feel our energy. And I don't know if that was the click for me. I feel like I've always, cared about people and tried to, not be offended or whatever. But people will always want to follow those who know where they're going and have their best interest in mind, when they don't feel pressured. And in my opinion, I think God blesses people that have a pure heart and open hands. So that's just my personal opinion. But how do you detach from the outcome, but still share your work, your business with conviction? And I actually had a friend say, well, you just do what God's called you to, no matter what the outcome. And I was like, well, that's, it's funny how people can just see it in a different light. And I'm like, well, that's exactly right. So I'm wrapping this up. I'm sorry I'm taking a little bit longer, but I want to tell y'all this story. So a friend of mine, this was actually at church, but she did this visual aid, and she had us all close our eyes, and she wanted us to, I don't even remember what her point was for, but it immediately was like a click, like a light switch, like I related it to my business. So she had us all close our eyes, and she wanted us to imagine that we're all a football team. So imagine we're all like in like our cleats and everything, just the whole nine, okay? And imagine for a second that someone's telling you, you will win the game. You will win the game. And this is the national championship game. I don't know much about football, but I know that's important. It's the national championship game, and you know without a doubt that you're going to win that game, okay? And I want you to imagine knowing that, how will that change how you play? So will you be fearful? Will you be like, oh, or will you shy away from those opportunities to like catch the ball or throw it, or will you just fight all with all you have in you, because you know in the end you're gonna win? I don't know about y'all, but that just like, it hit me. So this is called clear vision, guys. Clear vision is my last point. Without clear vision, good things will keep you from achieving the best things, and we will make excuse after excuse. And some of the good things might be, the good things will keep you from the best things, is what I said. So good things might be spending time with your kids, or hanging out with a friend, working out, going on a date, etc. But when we have clear vision, it provides the motivation, the direction, the purpose, and the endurance to reach that vision. And there's no such thing as an emotionless vision. That's why we all tear up when we're talking about it. The clearer the vision, the stronger the emotion. When you see it and you want it, it's going to bring your tears to your eyes. So God's vision for you does not include him squishing you into somebody else's vision. That's why it's so important that we go through this growing process and figure out our vision. Because if we're trying to squish it into somebody else's vision, it's not going to feel right. It's not going to have the same effect. There's going to be no emotion. But when we know that we're called to Arbonne, we can stand anything. We can stand any no. We can stand any no-show. So what's my why? My why is to use my gifts and talents to impact and help others. Help others achieve health. Help others achieve time and financial freedom. To show women, and most importantly, my daughter, that they don't have to pick one or the other. They can both be a mommy that's present and a mommy with drive and purpose. So, of course, money is a true blessing in the end. But in fact, the financial freedom this business will give me will actually allow my husband to finally pursue the passions that he has, not just work, but live his life full out. So I want to live and thrive, not just live. So recap, if you're like me, you might want some bullet points. So I know when I go through these trainings and listen, I want little bullet points that I can apply to my journey. So I could not change my mindset without first being willing to do something I had never done. I had to start reading. I could not face my fears without first changing my mindset. I could not truly be committed or consistent without first facing my fears. I could not learn to have clear vision without learning to detach from the outcome. And my business would not flourish and be fruitful until I clarified that vision. So I want to ask you guys, what are your passions? What are your gifts? Like, what are you good at? What makes you feel fulfilled? What are you not okay with? Maybe you're like me and you've lost sight of what those things even are. I encourage you to dig deep and dig the dreams and your passions up. I encourage you to think about your why. Write it down and tell somebody about it. Create a clear vision for them. These two things will fuel your business to the top. There is a reason why they talk about vision so much in this business, because I thought so many times I had a clear vision, but when you do, it definitely feels different. It feels different this time. It feels clearer. And we should not underestimate the impact of women working together for the good of the generation behind us. Our obedience will ripple in ways we may never know. So that's all I have for you guys. I enjoyed kind of writing all of it. I know I went way over, but I enjoyed writing it. And I told Heather, I think more people need to share their story, because just digging it up and writing it was so emotional for me, and definitely encouraged me. So thank you guys.
Well, that was really awesome. Wow, that was awesome. So I just have to commend Caroline. Like what she was saying, we always talk about in this business, be coachable. And so many people are not coachable. But Caroline has been coachable since day one. She would come to me and say, what do I do? Tell me what to do. And Debbie, you probably heard yourself talking when Caroline would say, Heather said, blah, blah, blah. Because Debbie told me the exact same things, right? So, I mean, she would say the same things, and she taught me and she coached me through it. And then I actually learned it and got it. And I was able to coach and teach Caroline through it. But here's the thing, like she did exactly what I told her to do every time without fail. And so if you're struggling in your business and you don't know why, that's why. That's why. So I love your story. I mean, I think you're already a national vice president. I don't know if anybody else agrees, but
Absolutely. No, that's exactly what I was going to say is main stage, MVP, beautiful heart, love you.
Mm-hmm.
Love that you journal your story and that you journal your journey and that you can wrap it in an inspirational share to help other people be better. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. It was great. Thanks for being so vulnerable.